Hi, I'm Sanjay Nagchaudhary, Development Lead for the IBM App Connect Enterprise product. In this video, I will demonstrate a new capability in the ACE version 13 toolkit, which allows you to manage credentials. In previous videos, I've shown how to send a HTTP request from a message flow running in ACE to a backend web service, which is secured using basic auth. I showed how the HTTP request policy can be used with the HTTP request node. I have also shown how the HTTP credential type can be dynamically updated in a vault, and the new credential value is used by a message flow without needing a restart of a flow or the integration server. I'm going to go through the same scenario, but take advantage of new capability in version 13, such as using the new toolkit options for managing credentials and using a terminal from within the toolkit. So I'm going to go through the same scenario as before. I'm going to start two integration servers. They're called backend and frontend. I'm going to do that using the command line. And I don't need to exit the toolkit to do this because new in version 13, I can open a terminal. On the menu bar, there's an option here, which allows you to open a terminal. I'm going to select local terminal and click OK. So that has started a terminal. I'm going to add a second one as well because I'm going to start two integration servers. So I'll click this button here and again select local terminal. Now, the ACE environment is inherited, which means that the ACE commands are available to be used in these terminals. So if I type IBM int, for example, I can see that the help is shown for IBM int. In version 13, admin SSL is enabled by default. You can check if it is enabled or disabled by running the command IBM int display admin SSL. I'll just increase the size of the terminal, and you can see that the setting is enabled, and it also informs you where the certificates have been installed. So for this demo, I'm actually going to disable the machine-wide setting, and I can do that by using the IBM int command. So I can run IBM int set admin SSL disabled, and this will disable admin SSL. And this will make the demo easier to follow. As I said, I'm going to use two integration servers. One is going to be called backend and the other one will be called frontend. I have two work directories. One's called backend and one's called frontend. For the backend integration server, I am going to start it with admin security enabled so that basic auth is enabled. So this will require a user ID and password. So I'll set a user ID and password for the admin security. And I'll do that by running the mqsi web user admin command. So that has created a user ID called admin with the password value of password 1. So now I'm going to start the backend integration server. And you can see that the integration server has started. It is listing on port 7600 and it is using HTTP. So now in my second terminal, I'm going to start the front-end integration server. So I have a front-end work directory. And for the front-end integration server, it is going to use an integration server vault. So I'm going to specify a vault key for it, and I'm setting specific port values for the REST admin port and the HTTP port to be used. So the front-end integration server has started. And now I'm going to connect to the front-end integration server. So I'm going to use localhost and 7601. I'm going to deselect the use HTTPS tick box because it is using just HTTP, and I'll click finish. So I've connected to my front-end integration server. I've nothing deployed to it at the moment. And notice that there is a credentials section underneath the integration server. So I have a message flow that I've already created. In my previous video, I showed how to create the message flow from scratch. The HTTP request node is configured to send a request to the backend integration server to the REST admin port, and it is referencing policy called HTTP basic auth, and that is inside my policy project called HTTP_PP. And if I open up the policy, I can see that the policy is referencing a credential. I'll just open a browser just to show you that the backend integration server is started with basic auth. So if I go to localhost 7600, I can see that I'm prompted for a user ID and password. In order for the HTTP request node to send a request to the backend integration server, I need to provide the user ID and password to be used, and that needs to be stored in the vault. So new in version 13 in the toolkit, we are able to create a credential in the integration server vault. You can also create an external directory vault if you wish, but for this demonstration we're using an integration server vault, and I'm going to give it the same name that is referenced in the policy, basic _auth _cred, and it will be of type HTTP. There are lots of credential types, so to save myself scrolling, I can start typing a few letters and it reduces the number of types that are shown in the list. So I'm going to select HTTP and I'm selecting basic as the authentication type. Username is admin and the password is password1. So I have a checkbox here which shows the values as I'm typing. So if I enter the values normally, then the values are not shown. But if I click this checkbox, then I can see the value that I'm typing. So I'm going to specify password1 here, and now I'm going to click finish. So that has added the HTTP credential in the vault, and now I'm ready to run my flow. So I'll deploy my policy project to the integration server. So that is deployed, and now I'll deploy the flow through the flow exerciser. So I can send a message through the flow, and I can click send, and I can see that I've received a response back from the backend integration server. Let's go back to the backend integration server and let's stop the backend integration server and change the value of the password for the administration ID. I'll stop the backend server and I'm going to change the password from password1 to password2 and specify -m to modify the password. User ID and password have been updated. We're now going to start the backend integration server again. So the backend integration server has started. The flow is still running. I'm just going to clear it, but it is still running. I haven't stopped it. If I now send a message through the flow, I receive an error. But this is because the flow is still using the old credential value of password1. We changed the value to password2, and so I'm receiving an error indicating that the wrong credentials have been provided when using basic auth. So I can update the value that is being used by the flow. I can right click on the credential and select update, and I can enter the new value of the password. So if I enter password2, click finish there, If I just clear the flow again, I haven't stopped the flow, it's still running. If I now put a new message through the flow, I now receive the response message again. So there's no error. So the new value of the credential was used by the flow without needing a flow restart. So in this video, I've shown how to use the new Toolkit features in ACE version 13. I was able to use the new menu options to create a credential and update the credential through the Toolkit. I was able to start the integration servers using the new terminals that are available in the Toolkit now. And the flow was able to use the credential without needing a flow restart.